तेज़ आ रही है क्या? Let's see. कितनी समझ क्यों आ रही है हमारा? इतनी ज़्यादा आवाज़ क्यों कर रहा है? ठीक है। हेलो क्या किया जाए?
Type of validation over here which is not blank. We can add even more, and let's add one more type of validation which is of size. So let's say we want to have our
दो जगह वाईफाई चलाने में कितना दिक्कत लग रहा है।
category of to be of a particular size, right? So we want minimum size of 5 over here. There is no maximum value, of course, and I can also add a message over here. Okay, so you can see the default message. You can see default is Jakarta validation constraints size. Okay, this is from where the message will come. Okay, so if you go over here, Jakarta validation constraints size. So this is the default message. Okay.
Hello guys.
You can see it is being fetched from here. This is a property that is being fetched. Okay. So I won't be making use of the default one. I'll specify my custom one over here. I'll say category. Name must contain at least 5 characters. Okay. So this message would come when the validation is failing, right? So we need to have a
5
fail message. Okay. And if I run this, let me run this. Okay. So you can see it's running now. If you come over here.
तो भी चल रहा है मैं
If you come over here, if you run this, you can see it must not be blank. And if I say A over here, you can see category name must contain at least 5 characters. So you can see how easy this is becoming now. Let me show you without a message. Okay, what is the default behavior? That is something that you should know. Okay, so my understanding is you should first learn the default behavior and then you should go for custom, because only then you will know why custom is being done. Normally what happens is people directly see custom things and they don't know what the default is. Right? So to understand the importance of default, to understand the importance of custom, you should first see default. So this is the default. Size must be between 5 and you can see this number. This is not at all user-friendly people. Okay. So message format is user-friendly. Of course, we work on it. 400 bad requests, you're getting a nice JSON. So if you're building a front end tomorrow, imagine this. If you're building a front end, you get 400 bad requests. You can go through the error messages over here and you can show it. So if category name is a field, okay, you can show this error message beside category name in a red CSS. Alright. So this message is not good. So I'm just going to remove this. Okay, and I'm just going to uncomment this. Okay. So this looks awesome now. Okay, if I run this, okay, and if you come over here, and if I execute this, you should see this error message. Okay, so this is awesome. And if there are multiple fields that are failing, you will get those many elements over here within this JSON. Okay, and if your category name is a field on the front end, you can show this error message on the front end with red font. Okay, so that's the benefit. And we are making our application front end ready, is what you can imagine. Alright, so this is about the size validation in usage, and I guess our category model is done.
1 घंटा तो मैं बैठ जाऊंगा।
So it's time that we talk about custom exceptions in Spring Boot. So far,
Guess
we
करो
have been
क्या पढ़
making
रहा
use
हूँ।
of response status exception directly in our service layer. Okay, and this was a very straightforward and concise way to handle errors and communicate specific HTTP codes and messages back to the client, whoever is consuming our APIs. Okay, this approach is particularly useful in controllers where you want to quickly translate an error condition into an HTTP response without the overhead of custom exception handling mechanism. But if you're building a production-grade, full-fledged application, then custom exceptions is something that you will have to make use of. Okay, so while response status exception directly can be convenient and sufficient for many of these scenarios, there are still reasons why you might want to consider using custom exceptions, even if you ultimately catch these and convert them into response status exception or similar within your controller advice. Okay, so let's talk about why custom exceptions anyways, despite having response status exceptions. So number one reason is separation of concerns. Now what does this mean? So custom exceptions can help you keep your business logic layer clean from the web layer constructs. Now what this means is normally you will have services. Okay, so you might want to keep your services clean. You might just want to have your business logic over there and not any error handling scenarios. Okay, so wherever you are handling the business logic, okay, you can just throw the exception and the rest is taken care by custom exceptions. Okay, and this is beneficial for maintaining your application, reusing your service layer, especially if it is used in a lot of other contexts than web requests. Like let's say if you plan to expose your business logic through a different set of protocols, then in that particular case having web
अरे कितना नेट टक रहा है।
exceptions being handled in business layer is not that good, right? So reusability is one thing, consistency is another thing. Okay, so I spoke about reusability, but consistency is something that custom exceptions allow. So they allow you to encapsulate specific error conditions and reuse them across different parts in the application. Okay, and this can lead to more consistent error handling, and it makes it
आज
easier
मैं
to
सोचा
change the error
पढ़ते
handling behavior
लाइव
right
आ
from
जाऊँ।
one place. Okay, so imagine
कैसे हो मैं सोचा पढ़ते पढ़ते आता हूँ। मेरे को क्या ही फर्क पड़ता है, कोई बात तो करेगा नहीं। पढ़ाई हो रही है, हाँ काइंड ऑफ हो रही है। मैंने कहा कोई तो आएगा नहीं बात करने के लिए तो पढ़ लूँ। आप बताओ आप क्या कर रहे हो। बंद कर दिया मैंने थोड़ी देर के लिए। आप बताओ क्या कर रहे हो। आजकल हाँ थोड़ा बहुत कर रहा हूँ, पढ़ाई तो हो ही रही है। तो अपना प्रोजेक्ट बनाने का था तो वही प्रोजेक्ट का कर रहा हूँ, ताकि इंटरव्यू में थोड़ा और अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन कर पाऊँ। तो मैंने सोचा आज लाइव पे ही पढ़ाई करी जाए, क्या पता वॉचिंग भी आ जाएगी साथ साथ। जैसे लोग पढ़ते पढ़ते नहीं आते लाइव, तो मैंने कहा उससे वॉचिंग भी आ जाएगी, साइड बाय साइड मेरी पढ़ाई भी हो जाएगी। आप बताइए आप क्या कर रही हैं। काइंड ऑफ ई कॉमर्स प्रोजेक्ट है ये, वैसे तो पूरा फुल स्टैक। तो दिखाऊं क्या आपको। वैसे तो ये है छोटा सा ही, बट कैसे दिखाऊं। अब जैसे ये है, यहाँ पे ना गेट ऑल कैटेगरीज़ है। जैसे हम ई कॉमर्स की वेबसाइट पे नहीं करते, हमें कैटेगरीज चाहिए होती है। तो यहाँ से इसे हिट करा तो यहाँ पे अभी तो एम्प्टी आ रहा है। अब हम इस पे जाएंगे, मान लो कुछ भी कैटेगरी लिख दी हमने, फिटनेस, एंटर करा, कैटेगरी क्रिएटेड। अब हम यहाँ चले गए, वापस से यहाँ गए। क्या कर दी आप, आपका लंच वो डिनर हो गया आपकी भी। अरे क्या गड़बड़ हो गई है। क्या कर रही थी आप अभी। मैसेज नहीं आ रहे क्या? ऑटो पे मैंने अपडेट कर रखा है। हेलो 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 हेलो, बोलो बोलो। चले गए थे क्या आप, या नेट अटक गया था मेरा? ये चीज़ क्या होगी? और बताओ श्रुति जी, कैसा जा रहा है आपका दिन? आपका नेट गया था? अच्छा, मेरा नेट चला गया था। हाँ यार, पता नहीं क्यों वाईफाई इशू कर रहा है अभी इस टाइम पे। मैं बोल रहा था, आपका डिनर हो गया? और कैसे जा रहा है आपका दिन? कोड में कुछ चेंज किया गया मैंने? स्टॉप एंड रीरन करूँ अगर? मेरा भी कर रहा है वाईफाई प्रॉब्लम तो। अरे यार, वाईफाई का बहुत दिक्कत है, पता नहीं क्यों सही स्पीड नहीं देता। पैसे दे रहे हैं तब भी। हाँ जी हाँ जी, मेरा हो गया। आप बताइए, क्या चल रहा है नया? हो गया। कौन सा? मेरा एयरटेल है, बट एयरटेल के ना इतना सही नहीं आ रहा है सिग्नल, दिक्कत कर रहा है। फ़ोन में तो सिम में सही सिग्नल आते हैं, बट वाईफाई के इतने सही नहीं आ रहे। एक तो यहाँ कॉलोनी में ना बहुत लोगों ने लगा रखा है, तो शायद इसलिए भी। मैं गेट ऑल कैटेगरीज करूँ मैं, तो ये उड़ा रहा है। इसका सोल्यूशन देखना पड़ेगा मुझे। मेरा जियो है, बहुत प्रॉब्लम करता है। आपका जियो भी दिक्कत कर रहा है? मेरी मौसी के यहाँ जियो है, बट इशू कर रहा है वो फिर भी। हमारे पास है H2 का डेटाबेस। in Spring Boot, why every data in database is missing while rerun of the application? Properties, Spring Boot has detailed property. This property will update the setting, update the schema, but it will not drop the existing tables. आपने मैथ्स के साथ CS थी? हाँ जी हाँ जी, मेरे पास मैथ्स के साथ CS थी। बायो नहीं थी ना मेरे पास। हिंदी लेने का मेरा मन नहीं था। मैंने कहा हिंदी कौन लेता है। 10th में मेरे कंप्यूटर में अच्छे मार्क्स थे, 12th में भी सही थे और अच्छे ही थे में भी, बट ठीक है। मैथ्स में तो पढ़ाई नहीं करी थी मैंने उतनी। डेटाबेस, इसका क्या मतलब है? व्हेन द गिवन शटडाउन द मेमोरी इज क्लियर एंड ऑल डेटा इज लॉस्ट। If you are using in-memory data like S2, configure the entire database size in the application memory. When the application shutdown, the memory is created and entire set. अच्छा, मैंने तो बायो के साथ हिंदी थी। अरे हमारे उसमें हिंदी थी, बट हिंदी मेरे को चाहिए नहीं थी। मैंने कहा ठीक है, यही पढ़ेंगे हम। पर यार काश प्राइवेट कॉलेज में ना उस टाइम पे अकल होती हमें कि क्या पढ़ना है क्या नहीं पढ़ता। आज मैं स्ट्रगल नहीं कर रहा पड़ता होता, पर ठीक है, देखते हैं। प्राइवेट कॉलेज ने पैसा तो ले लिया, पर पैसे को सिर्फ डिग्री दिया। रिग्रेट हुआ था फिर हिंदी लेके। यार हिंदी में मेरे क्लासमेट्स के 98 मार्क्स आए थे, 98 99। वो बात अलग है कि कंप्यूटर में मेरे आ गए थे 90+, बट हिंदी में उनके बहुत आराम से आए थे यार। पूरे टाइम वो मस्ती करते थे। मैं तो कभी कभी हिंदी की क्लास में जाके बैठता था, मैम पहचानती थी मेरे को 10th क्लास से, तो मैं जाके बैठ जाता था मस्त। तो कुछ कहती भी नहीं थी मैम। स्कूल लाइफ के मज़े अलग थे वैसे, ये तो है। इन मेमोरी डेटाबेस है ना ये, इन मेमोरी डेटाबेस तो नहीं चलेगा। ठीक है ठीक है। कोई दिक्कत श्रुति जी, ये वाईफाई बहुत जा रहा है यार, पता नहीं क्यों। हेलो हेलो वनीश भाई, हेलो हेलो, कैसे हो? साला मेरे को पढ़ना है और ये वाईफाई नहीं चल रहा है, कितना कमीना है ना ये वाईफाई। अब भी नहीं चल रहा क्या? आई हैव वन क्वेश्चन। यस मार्क, पूछो पूछो। ऑल ओके, ऑल ओके, यस ऑल ओके, आप बताओ। क्या पूछना है आपको, पूछो पूछो। वाई आई हेट माई सेल्फ, इसका तो मैं क्या जवाब दूँ?
Things being scattered at different places where you're making
अपने
use
आप को
of
मत
response
करो।
status exception directly hard-coded in your code. Okay, so if at one particular place you are passing a message in a particular format, and let's say some
अब
other
नेट ना
developer
अटके
is
यार,
working on
बस
some other controller
पढ़ाई डिस्टर्ब
and
होती
he
है तो।
passes the message in some other format, and if there is a change in message format, you have to change it across. But with the help of custom exceptions, it's all centralized. Okay, detailed error information. So custom exceptions give you the flexibility to include additional information about the error. And this is
मैंने
beyond
कहा
just
अपने
the
आप को
status
हेट मत
code and
करो।
message. So you can add more things that can be useful for debugging and providing more detailed feedbacks to clients. Okay, for example, you can include device information or whatever.
जिस बाइक के साथ शॉर्ट तो हाँ जी हाँ जी, मेरी है वो, जो ब्लू कलर की आपने देखी है ना, वो मेरी है। थैंक यू थैंक यू। कार तो पापा देते नहीं चलाने को क्या, पापा ही चलाते हैं ज़्यादातर, मेरे को इतना मन नहीं करता, तो मैंने इसलिए बाइक ले ली। मैंने कहा हो गया, स्कूल वूल में चला लिया एक्टिवा, अब बाइक चाहिए। बहुत कम चली है मेरी बाइक, पता है 3 साल हो गए मेरे को बाइक लिए पे, पर वो अराउंड 15,000 ही चली होगी 3 साल में। पर बढ़िया है वो लॉन्ग राइड्स के लिए। बट मैं सब थिंग का ब्लेम मेरे ऊपर करता हूँ। अरे अपने ऊपर क्या ब्लेम करना है यार, चिल करो, चल मज़े करो। क्यों नहीं देते? अरे वो बात नहीं है ना, देखो वो रोज़ जाते हैं ऑफिस लेके, अब दूसरा क्या है कि वो शाम तक आते हैं कार लेके, शाम तो मैं ही नहीं निकलता, और फिर मेरे को भी थोड़ा ये लगता है कि यार लेके चला गया, कभी लग गई तो पापा की गाड़ी है, पापा मुझे पहले तोड़ेंगे, गाड़ी बाद में देखेंगे। ये मेरे घर वालों का रूल है कि गाड़ी गिरनी नहीं चाहिए, गाड़ी का ध्यान रखना है। तो इतनी टेंशन रहती है, इससे अच्छा मैं लेके ही नहीं जाता। एवर नॉट कंटेंट तो अरे यार क्यों ऐसी बातें कर रहे हो? एंड बाय, चिल करो, चिल मज़े करो लाइफ में, ये उल्टी उल्टी बातें ना करो, वो भी रात के टाइम पे ब्रो।
So it's specific to the scenarios, but if you want to include any scenario specific information, you can add that.
आप बताओ शुद्ध
Complex error
क्या चल
handling
रहा है
law.
लाइफ
Okay.
में,
So
कॉलेज
if your
वॉलेज में
application
प्रपोजल आ रहे?
requires some domain specific complex error handling law.
ड्राइविंग आती है? हाँ आती है, वैसे मेरे को आती है, मैंने सीख ली थी, बट उतनी मैंने ऐसे अकेले या वैसे मेन रोड पे उतनी चलाई नहीं है। मैं मेन रोड पे चलाई है बट ऐसा अकेले नहीं चलाई है कभी। ऐसा डिलीट कर रहा हूँ ऐसा यूट्यूब चैनल? क्यों भाई, क्या हो गया मार्क, क्यों डिलीट कर रहे हो? ऐसा भी क्या हो गया, कल तक तो सही थे। और ये बाकी 6 लोग कौन देख रहे हैं? ये मेरे फ़ोन के ना टेम्पर में बबल आ गया है, भयंकर ब्लर दिख रहा है ये। अरे तो कॉलेज में नहीं आया एक भी, तो अरे एक भी नहीं आया कॉलेज में। ओके ओके, पता नहीं यार। अरे मार्क चिल करो, चिल, ऐसा उल्टा नहीं सोचते। यहाँ तो इतनी टेंशन है, बट ठीक है, खुश रहने की कोशिश करते हैं।
To determine the error state, okay, then custom exceptions can encapsulate that logic, and it can make your service methods much more cleaner, more focused.
ये अंग्रेज की आवाज़ आ रही है?
Okay, this is about the consideration of custom exceptions. Okay, now you can use custom exceptions with response status exceptions as well. Okay, so if you prefer immediate feedback, clarity, simplicity of response status exceptions for direct feedback in your web layer or the controllers, then custom exceptions can be added into application architecture as well.
आपसे बात करेंगे तो उनका फोकस भटक जाएगा ना। तो सही है। तुम सब कुछ डिलीट करोगे ना मार्क, तो टेलीग्राम पे मैसेज तो कर ही देना। टेलीग्राम होगा ना, आईडी पे पड़ा होगा, अगर उड़ा दोगे तो भूलना मत, कर देना वहाँ पे मेरे को मैसेज। नहीं तो यूट्यूब तो है ही, यूट्यूब तो फिर मत ही उड़ाना। अरे कहाँ वेट करते हैं यार ब्रो, चिल करो चिल, कोई हेट नहीं करता। श्रुति जी को प्रपोजल मैं वो डिलीट कर दूँगा। क्या फ़ायदा डिलीट करके ब्रो, क्या फ़ायदा? रियल लाइफ में सब वेट करते हैं। अरे कुछ नहीं होता है यार, देख पेरेंट्स के साथ रहो और बाकी और क्या ही चाहिए, मुझे भी नहीं चाहिए तो कोई नहीं, आप डॉक्टर बन जाओगे तो अपने आप ही आने लग जाएंगे रिश्ते, आपको क्यों चाहिए, आपको तो वैसे ही आ जाएंगे। आई डोंट वांट मीट एनीवन। ओके ओके, कोई बात नहीं कोई बात नहीं, मेरे से तो मिल लोगे, कभी ना कभी तो मिल ही लेंगे।
And they both can be used effectively. Okay, so let me explain that how you can make use of both in your application. Okay, so you can have response
डर लगता है यार सबको लगता है, मेरे को भी लगता है, मुझे शादी से भी डर लगता है अभी, पर ठीक है, उम्मीद है कि कोई ढंग की मिल जाएगी। लेट्स सी, फिर जिंदा रहा तो। अरे रहोगे भाई, चिल करो, कहीं नहीं मरने वाले इतनी जल्दी।
this exception for direct feedback. Okay, so if you wish to provide any sort of direct feedback via your controller, you can make use of the response status exception. But if you want to have custom exceptions for business logic, you can make use of that. Okay, you can define custom exceptions, and you can have a specific business logic within it. Okay, you can handle custom exceptions in the controller advice. Okay,
bye
you can make use of REST controller advice exception handler method to catch the custom exceptions and convert them into relevant or appropriate HTTP responses along with the status codes. Okay, and this approach will combine the consistency and ease along with clear and meaningful communication to your users. Okay, so this is about the custom exceptions and
हेलो स्लिमिटेस, यो कैसे हो, कहाँ से देख रहे हो?
an introduction to the same, and like we discussed, custom exceptions serve consistency, reusability, separation of concerns, and even flexibility when it comes to designing your REST APIs. So that's about custom exceptions. I hope this was useful.
चलो पढ़ लो, अब मिलते हैं कल। ओके श्रुति जी, बाय बाय, टेक केयर, गुड नाइट, बाय बाय, टेक केयर।
So normally when you're working with APIs, there are scenarios wherein
बस थका हुआ हूँ, आप सुना दो। मैं हरियाणा से और आप? मैं देहरादून से हूँ। क्या कर रहे हो आप? थके हुए हो? क्या हुआ आपको? अरे अरे अरे, अरे यार कुछ नहीं भाई, बस एडिटिंग करके आया था, अब चिल कर रहा हूँ। एडिटिंग करके देखा मैंने, अभी चैनल पे हो ना, नाइस। मैं भी पढ़ ही रहा था यार, मैंने सोचा आज पढ़ते पढ़ते लाइव करते हैं, देखते हैं कितने लाइक आएंगे, कितने व्यूअर्स आएंगे। एक तो ये स्क्रीन में ना टेम्पर चेंज कराना पड़ेगा, बबल आ रहा है बहुत, तो बबल की वजह से ना ये ब्लर दिख रहा है, कल कराऊंगा चेंज।
a particular resource that you're requesting is
आज
not
तो
found.
पढ़ते हैं यार थोड़ा।
So here, if you go to your service layer and if you take a look at the category service, you have a scenario. Okay, so
तो
here
सी
you
आप
see
ब्रो,
not found.
करता हूँ मैं
Okay,
बात,
resource
आज
not
थोड़ा
found.
पढ़
So
लूँ।
this is there at a couple of places, and as our API grows, okay, you will see that this coming in at more and more places. So let's say tomorrow, if this application grows, and we have things like products, cards, all of this. So there will be a scenario wherein particular data or that you're requesting is not found in the database, and you might want to return something to the customer or the user who is consuming your APIs. Okay, so in this particular case, the scenario is of resource not found, and you can have a custom exception being implemented to handle these scenarios. Why you would add this? So of course you can do a way like you can use this particular thing here. Okay, but here what is happening is I am passing in my own custom message here, resource not found. Okay, and I'm making use of response status exception. Tomorrow some other developer might pass in some other message in some other format. Okay, and the format might change. Okay, there's no standard here, so I need to get a better control over this. So what I can do is I can come over here in exceptions, and I can go to exceptions here and head over to global exception handler. Okay, and here what I would do is I would add a method that would handle the exception of this type. Okay, so I can say public, I can say response entity. So here, instead of this class, we can simply return string over here for now. Okay, and I can say over here my resource not found exception. Okay, so this is a custom exception handler, and I can say resource not found. Okay, so I've typed in the entire class name. This class does not exist yet. Okay, so this is a custom class that we will be creating. I'll say E over here. Okay, and here.
Like done. Okay. Thank you, Shivani ji. Thank you.
This will be the hand.
मैं प्रोग्राम बना रहा हूँ अभी, पता है? आप भी कंप्यूटर से कर रहे थे ना पढ़ाई? देखना चाहोगे? चलेगा क्या?
Over here that will handle this exception. So what I can do is I can like create the handler over here. I can say exception handler, and it will be of this type, something like this. Okay. Now this does not exist, so I'll say create over here. Okay. I'll say create class, and where are we creating? We are creating the same package over here, the exceptions package, because this is related to exceptions. Okay. Okay. This is created resource not found exception. Okay. Now what we can do here, this is extending throwable. We don't want throwable, we'll say runtime exception. Okay, so this is a runtime exception, and here I can say string. I can have some class members over here. So I can say resource name. This will store the name of the resource which is not found. You can have string field as well, something like this. You can have string field name. Okay, you can have long field ID, something like this. Okay. And you can add a constructor. So let me add a constructor. I'll add a constructor for, so you can see. Okay, so this is I need a one with the resource name, one with the field, and other one with the field name. I will skip the ID. Okay, so
field name, field value. Field ID and call Pudana. String field.
An exception, and here I can say string. I can have some class members over here. So I can say resource name. This will store the name of the resource which is not found. You can have string field as well, something like this. You can have string field name. Okay, you can have long field ID, something like this. Okay, and you can add a constructor. So let me add a constructor. I'll add a constructor for, so you can see. Okay, so this is I need a one with the resource name, one with the field, and other one with the field name. I will skip the ID. Okay, so this is a constructor that I've added. Okay, and what I can do is I will add one more constructor over here. Okay, and I'll say generate constructor, and I'll cancel this. I'll say resource, field, and field ID. Okay, something like this. Yeah. Okay. And over here, instead of I can even initialize constructor, and okay, I'll cancel this. I'll say resource, field, and
runtime exception की जगह ही है. messages. रिसोर्स में फील्ड नेम और फील्ड नेम और फील्ड रिसोर्स नेम
field ID. Okay, something like this. Yeah. Okay, the resource name, something like this. Okay, and you can add a constructor. So
एक बार हाँ बोलो 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 मार्क.
let me add a constructor. I'll add a constructor for. So you can see. Okay, so this is I need a one with the resource name, one with the field, and other one with the field name. I will skip the ID. Okay, so this is a constructor that I've added. Okay, and what I can do is
आपको अगर कोई मिले जो नशा करता हो उसके बाद की नशा एक ज़िंदगी इंसान मार. आपको अगर कोई मिले जो नशा करता हो उसकी बाद की नशा एक ज़िंदगी इंसान मार देती है. समझ नहीं आया मेरे को. इंग्लिश में लिख दो बट नशा मत करो.
we'll add one more constructor over here. Okay, and I'll say generate constructor, and I'll cancel this. I'll say resource field and field ID. Okay, something like this. Yeah. Okay, and over here, instead of I can even initialize this over here. Okay, but I can even pass this to the parent class. Okay, so I'll say super. Yeah, and I'll pass in string dot format. So I'll pass this in a particular format. And I'll say percentage %s over here. I'm making use of string formatting in Java, not found, with percentage %s colon percentage %s, something like this. Okay. And here I can say not found. The first one is resource name, the second one is field, and the other one is field name. Something like this. Okay. This is one. Okay. And I'll end this with a semicolon.
कंट्रोल एक्स कंट्रोल वी. ठीक है, इसको भी कंट्रोल एक्स करो, कंट्रोल वी करो, ठीक है. कंट्रोल एक्स कंट्रोल वी ठीक है. अगर आपको कोई बुरी नशा करता हो उसको बोलने की नशा मत एक ज़िंदगी इंसान को मार देती है जीना नहीं देती. सही बात है भाई. मैं तो बोलता ही हूँ भाई सबको कि नशा मत करो, मत करना. वो मैं तो बोलता ही हूँ भाई नशा मत करो.
And I'll copy this entire line of code here. This entire piece of code, and here I'll scroll down. I'll add this here. Okay. And here instead of percentage %s, I'll say percentage %e, and here I'll say field ID, like so. Okay. So we have two constructors defined. I'll also add a no argument constructor. Okay. So this is the no argument constructor. Alright. So this is done. This is our class that has been set.
No argument constructor कुछ करने को बोल रहा है. ठीक है, खुद कर देते हैं, क्या दिक्कत है. जनरेट में जाओ, कंस्ट्रक्टर में जाओ, साला इसकी ध्यान कर. बस ये बोलना था बस. अरे कोई नहीं यार मार्क भाई. मैं कहता हूँ कि आपकी सब. अरे थैंक्स भाई, थैंक्स यार. आप भी टेंशन मत लो, सब सही रहेगा. एंड इतना सैड वैड मत रहा करो. बढ़िया है भाई, छोटी सी लाइफ है, क्या ही टेंशन नहीं. तो चिल करो. नो बट आई हेट एवरीथिंग। अरे ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता भाई, सब बढ़िया ही रहेगा। ओके ओके, इसी को ले भी कर लो, ठीक है। चिल करो भाई, इतना क्या टेंशन लेना।
Okay. And if you come to my global exception handler, the error is gone, okay, because this class is now defined. And what I can do is I can have string message over here, and I can say e.getMessage. I'm getting the message from the exception object that I have access to, and I'm saying return new response entity over here, okay. And here I'm going to pass in the message, and I'm also going to pass in the status dot, I'll say not found, okay. So I guess we are done over here. All right. Let us. So I think this should work fine now. Okay, we won't get any error. But let me explain this to you. So what we have done is we have created an exception first, resource not found exception, which is handling the scenario where a resource is not found. And this custom exception provides constructors to set the resource name, field name, and field ID that are not found by extending the runtime exception. And the custom exception allows unchecked propagation of the exception throughout the call stack. Okay. So here then we have the handler. Okay, this is intercepting all the resource not found exceptions that occur in all the controllers, around all the controllers. Okay, and all the controllers and even the methods that controller is calling. Okay, so this is happening, and then we are crafting a message, and this goes as a message in the response. Okay, so this is what it is so far, and I hope this is useful and easy to digest.
जीरो लोग देख रहे हैं, 8 लाइक हो गए। Okay.
So now it's time that we make use of the resource not found exception into our services that we have developed and built so far. So we are having a global exception handler for resource not found exception. But right now, if you head over to the category service implementation over here, so if I go to this particular class here, you're going to see that we are making use of response status exception. Okay, we should ideally transition to resource not found exception. So what I would recommend you all is to take this up as a challenge wherein you would transition these lines of code to the source not found exception. So you should pause the video right now, attempt this as a challenge, and come back and watch the solution. So I hope you all had a chance to attempt this, and I'm going to go ahead by replacing this as a solution. So instead of response status exception, I'm going to say resource not found exception. You can see this is our custom exception that we have created, and over here we need parameters. So the parameter is resource name, field, and field ID. Okay, so I can just get rid of this. Okay, we don't need to pass in not found status and all, but here we'll say category. Okay, and the second parameter will pass in as category ID. This is the field name, and then we'll have the category ID. Okay, so if you go over here in resource not found exception, we have the resource name, the field, and the field name. Okay, so this one we are using. So we have resource name, field, and the field ID. Okay, so we have two variants of the constructor. And this is what we have used over here. Okay, so we have updated over here. We can even update it for update category. Okay, so I'll just copy this line. It will be the exact.
तो ये कैटेगरी अपडेट का है ना।
Same line that we need over there, and here I can come here. I can simply paste this. Okay, this is done. Okay, we have this implemented. Let us test this. Okay, ideally we should see the output as, if you see over here. Okay, you should see response not found exception with the message and not found. Okay, so if you come over here, okay, and if I try to, let's say, update a category, so there's no category right now. Okay, there's no category. If I try to update a category, so you can see 404 category not found with category ID :1. Okay, and if you try to delete the category, you will get 404 not found. So this is like a standard that we have established now for all resource not found exceptions. Okay.
इसमें तो ठीक है। Category found with category state category field of field ID. Okay.
And I think, not only I think, but this is actually a great practice to do. Okay, so if you're doing Spring Boot projects, or if you're working in a professional production grade applications, or in a professional production grade setup, okay, you're going to see these kind of structures, and this is how exceptions will be managed. This knowledge that you are gaining right now is really valuable.
इसको रन करके देखते हैं एक बार. Stop and rerun. कौन दो लोग देख रहे हैं? मैसेज करिए. जब तक कि ये प्रोग्राम रन हो रहा है. ओके, क्वेश्चन हो गया. लेट कैटेगरी आईडी कैटेगरी में फाउंड विद कैटेगरी आईडी 1. ओके, दिस इज गुड. अपडेट ही आके क्या करूँगा. मतलब कैटेगरी आईडी 1. हेलो हेलो, कौन देख रहा है? कहाँ से देख रहे हो आप? ये तो ठीक है. कैटेगरी भेज रहे हैं, कैटेगरी आईडी भेज रहे हैं. स्मार्टफोन एक्सेप्शन में गए. एक्सेप्शन में जाके हमने कहा रिजोर्स एक्सेप्शन में इन दो अलग अलग बना दिया हमने कंस्ट्रक्टर. नाम क्या है? फील्ड जॉब. और फील्ड का नाम क्या होगा? ठीक है.
And this is something that you would be utilizing in your real projects. So I hope this was useful.
कौन देख रहा है जी?
So now it's time that we talk about some of the more custom exceptions that we can add to our project. Now we are working in an e-commerce application, and let's say we are working on the functionality to add new products. Sorry, not product, but product categories, let's say, because we're working on the category one. Now, whenever we save the category name, we would want each category to have the unique name. So whenever a user attempts to add a category with the same name that already exists, ideally he should get an error, right? So the system or the database should not accept this, and it should be flagged as an error to the user that, hey, this particular category already exists. Now this is a custom check that is specific to our business requirement, right? Category and not having unique or not having duplicate categories is something that is unique to our business, right? So what you might want to do is you might want to add such kind of validations, and you might want to throw exceptions when user attempts to do any of this. And this is where you can create a generic exception class called API exception. Okay. So for example, if you're trying to create a category that already exists, you should get the error. If you're trying to update a category name with the name that already exists, in that scenario also you should get an error that, hey, this name already belongs to a category. So this is where API exception comes into picture. So API exception is a custom exception class that we'll be creating. It will be extending the runtime exception, something similar to like resource not found exception. Okay, this one also extends runtime exception, and this indicates that it's an unchecked exception. And custom exception classes like API exceptions are used in application to represent specific error conditions in a more meaningful way than standard Java exceptions. Okay, and this exception class will be designed to encapsulate errors related to API operations, making it easier for us to handle and communicate specific issues that occur during the runtime. Okay, and especially these errors are those that will be related to client requests and data processing within the API. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to create this particular class, all right, and when adding the new logic to the new category, or when implementing the logic to add a new category like we have over here, So whenever we are creating the category, okay, what we can do is we can check if the category with the proposed name exists. If it already exists, then we need a way to stop the process and inform the client of the specific. Okay, and this error would be that a category with this name cannot be created because it already exists. Okay, and these kind of validations you can do. Okay, so this particular class API exception is going to serve a lot of purposes. So it is going to help you clearly communicate the error, maintain consistency, and simplify error handling as well. Okay, so what we are going to do is here when you are about to create a category. Okay, what you can do is you can actually check for categories that exist with that name. Okay, and then you can throw an API exception if it does exist. Right. So this is what we are going to do. So I'll head over to the exceptions package, and of course I'm going to add API exception over here. Something like this. Okay, this will be created. All right. And now here I am just going to have inheritance relationship. I'm going to say extends runtime exception. That's all. And here I'm going to say private static final long serial version UID. Okay, I'm just having a UID over here, right? And here I can have a constructor. Okay, so I can use a constructor like so. Okay, and I can.
ये क्यों हुआ पर?
We have one more constructor with a message. So you can have this constructor with a message, okay, that is being passed to the superclass. Okay. So this is done. Now what we can do is we need to add a global exception handler. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I can simply copy this here, paste it over here. Instead of resource not found exception, I put class. Okay. So this is done. Now what we can do is we need to add a global exception handler. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I can simply copy.
Okay, so well then UID. Let's see. UID से कौन होगा? Okay, done.
Yeah, paste it over here. Instead of resource not found exception, I can say API exception dot class, and here instead of my resource not found exception, I can simply say API exception like so. Okay, and here the object will be of type API exception. Okay, and now what I can do over here is here I can in fact have the string. Okay, so string, and I can have message. Okay, and I can have e dot get message, something like this. Okay. And I can pass in the message as the response here. All right. So this is what it's done. And here we can also update the status code. So this is not found. I can say bad request. Okay. Because you're passing in something that already exists. Okay. So this is something we can do here. All right. Now what we need to do is we can service. Okay. This is service implementation. And here just before saving the category. Okay. So right now we are directly saving. So you can have to duplicate category names. But I'll add a validation. I can say category. Saved category. Okay, this is the category that is already saved, and I can say repository. So we'll get the category by name. Okay, so I need to say. So normally, what happens is if you want to find the category by ID, you can say find by ID, right? And you pass in long ID as the parameter. But since we want find by category and name over here, this is the method that we want, and we want to pass in category dot get category name. Okay, this is what we want. But actually, if you see over here, we are getting a red mark, and it indicates that this method is not available in the repository. Okay, so now this is interesting. So how do you handle scenarios when you need a method that does not exist? Okay, so here the method does not exist, right? How do you handle this scenario? Okay, so in this particular case, what we would have to do is, whenever you are using something called as string data GPA, you can easily extend the capability of your repositories to
कैटेगरी पे गया मैंने ठीक है
into custom query methods without explicitly writing the implementation. So this particular method does not exist in the repository. Okay, we have not been given access to this particular method by default. Now you might be thinking, hey, I need to define this on my own and I need to implement this. Absolutely not. That's the power of JPA. And with JPA, if you don't have something that you need how can you get it very easily? That is something that I'm going to show you. Okay. So what you can do is you can simply create a method. Okay. So let's say, so normally you are getting a find by method. So normally when you want to query something in the repository, you get find by method. Okay. So you can say dot find by. Now there is a find by ID, but let's say tomorrow if you add more fields to category, you might want to find or query the category repository by that attribute. So in that case, you can create your own custom method. So here, let's say I want to query by category name. Okay. So what happens is you can simply create a repository method, something like this. Okay, I can get this created. Okay, and what this will do is JPA will automatically analyze the declaration over here. It will understand what you want, and it will automatically generate the implementation on the fly for the same. Okay, and this is what the entire magic is. So this error is gone. Okay, and this particular method declaration is telling JPA that hey, I need you to give me the implementation of this. And how is it going to figure out the implementation? It will analyze the method name first. Okay, so method name has to follow a certain convention for JPA to give you the implementation of line.
Hello.
Okay, so take a look at the convention we are following. Okay, we are saying find by. Now this prefix indicates that this is a query method, and string data JPA should generate a query to find entities based on a specific criteria. Okay, so we are saying find by. Alright, and then we are saying category name. Okay, so this is the name of the field in the category entity. So if you go to the category entity, it's the name of the field. It should exactly match the name of the field by which you want to find entities. Okay, and you have to make sure that like it's following the camel case. So this C should be capital here. Okay, C is capital here. Okay, and what happens is JPA then picks this up. Okay, it understands that you want to find or generate a query by category name. Category name is the field.
Hello guys, कहाँ से देख रहे हो आप लोग? नए हो तो please like और subscribe
What
करो.
it will do is it will generate an implementation that will execute the query to find a category with the given name, and you don't need to write any SQL for this. Spring Data GPT takes care of it for you. Okay, isn't this amazing? Okay, so like I told you, it will simply parse the method name to understand the intended query, and it will create a proxy instance in the hindsight, and that proxy instance will have the actual implementation of these methods. And this process will involve generating the SQL queries that will correspond to the method name. Here the method name is find by category ID. Okay, so you want to query the entity by category name. Sorry, not category ID. I said category ID by mistake. So it's you want to query the entity by category name over here. Okay, and you want to execute that against the database when the methods are called. So that is what you're specifying over here. Okay, so that's the power of GPA is what I want to mention over here. Okay, so this is done. We have this method ready now, and you will see this in action now. Okay, don't worry about this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if. Now if saved category is not equal to null, so we got an instance of saved category, then what are you going to do? You're going to throw an API exception, right? I'm going to throw an API exception and I'll say category. So it's a custom message, category with the name, and I can pass in the name over here. Okay, category dot get name. So category.
with the exception फिर ये कर रहा है
with this name already exists. Okay, okay. So this is something that I can pass in over here. Okay, add 3 exclamations, and then it seems we are done. Okay, we just have to add the semicolon. Okay, so we are handling the API exception now. Okay, and now let us run this and let us see whether this works perfectly fine. Okay, it does work fine. For now, let me create a category. I created a category with the name E. Okay, so it's giving me a validation error. You can see. And I'll say travel here. Okay, and I'll say send category added successfully. If I add it again, you can see category with the name travel already exists. Okay, so you cannot create multiple categories with the same name. Alright, so I hope this is very much clear to you all as to how you can go on adding your own custom exceptions. And these exceptions are very standard, and normally if you're working in Spring Boot production grade environment, you're going to see this kind of code written.
Okay, समझ गया. Create new category fitness graded, and then if I go to create my fitness already existed. Okay, यहाँ करके हेलो गाइस, जो भी नया प्लीज लाइक करो.
In your project, right? So I hope this was useful and I hope you all enjoyed learning this.
2 मॉड्यूल रहते हैं, ये 2 मॉड्यूल पढ़ लेंगे, उसके बाद सोऊंगा यार.
So now it's time that we add one more validation, all right? So what we are doing over here is in the service implementation, we are having a method to get the list of all the categories. So let's say there is no category present, okay? We are returning an empty array, but we can return an error which says there is no category created till now. So the category is empty, okay? So take this up as a challenge. You can like add validation over here, this particular method in this service implementation class, all right? So I would recommend you all to pause the video right now, attempt the challenge, and come back and watch the solution. All right, so I hope you all had a chance to attempt the challenge. So here in this particular method, what I'm going to do is I am simply going to say over here category repository dot find all. Okay, so I'll get the list of categories. Okay, and then I'm going to check if any of the categories are present. Okay, so I'm going to say list of category, and I'm going to say categories is equal to this. Okay, and once this is done, I'm going to have the validation. So I'm going to say if categories is empty. Okay, then I'm going to say through new EPI exception. Okay, I'm going to pass in a message over here, no category created till now, something like this. Okay, you can pass in whatever message you want, and then I'm going to return the list of categories. Okay, so if categories is not empty, only then we return the list. Otherwise, we return an exception over here. All right, let me run this and let us test if this works absolutely fine. So the app is running. If you come over here and if you try to get the list of categories, you should get 400 ban requests, no category created till now. Perfect, right? And if you want to create a category, you can create it. Link, this is not empty.
Category find all. If ये हो गया, इसको जंपी थ्रो में होते हैं, ठीक है. इस एम्प्टी का इस एम्प्टी का मतलब क्या होता है? इस एम्प्टी खाली है. खाली दिखती है. ये कैसे खुला रहेगा?
Then we return the list. Otherwise, we return an exception later. All right. Let me run this and let us test if this works absolutely fine. So the app is running. If you come over here and if you try to get the list of categories, you should get 400 ban requests. No category created till now. Perfect, right? And if you want to create a category, you can create it and then try to get the category. So this is also working perfectly fine. So the request without a category and with the category is working perfectly fine. So the validation is good. Okay. So I hope this was useful and I hope you were able to follow. All right. So we have a lot of code now written in the service class. Okay. And a lot of
validation वाला true मारना पड़ेगा. Let's see, validation is true. So I'll go here and just put it that's validation on implementation of variation and view. ये भी true कर ही देते हैं. Guys are doing much. अगर मैं इधर से देखूँ तो कैसे लगेगा? यहाँ तो कुछ है ही नहीं. लैपटॉप ही नहीं आएगा यहाँ तो. यहाँ देखिएगा क्या? यहाँ पे भी नहीं आएगा ना. कोई दिक्कत नहीं. वाला है अगला सेक्शन. Sorting, ठीक है.
tool in the controller is not even being used. Alright, so it's time that we do a little bit of cleanup of the controller and make it a bit more lightweight. Alright, so here if you see, this is our controller, and if we scroll down from the top, okay, we have get all categories. Okay, so this is looking good, no issues as such. But your create category, this is also looking okay. For delete category, we have the validations over here in the controller. Okay, now we don't need validations over here because we are centralizing the validations. Okay. We're making use of annotations. We have implemented validations at the model level, and also you should not implement validations in the controller. Like you should not have a lot of checks in the controller. Controller should be just pass through. So there should not be any logic or exception handling over here in the controller. So initially we added this because we were learning, but now we will do the cleanup and we'll do things only the right way. Okay. So here I have this delete category. Okay, and here I don't need this. Okay. And I don't need this over here. Okay. So I can simply have status, okay, and response entity dot status, status okay, and body over here. Okay. And instead of doing things this way, so let me. Controls set over here. So I had another way. So this is a way that we can use over here. Okay, so this is status string that we are getting from the response. So what I can do is I can get rid of this one. I can make use of this. Okay. Okay, something happened. Okay, I don't need to delete the status. So okay, I'll just uncomment this. I'll just get rid of this. And this entire thing we don't need, in fact. Okay. So I think this is good enough. Alright. Validations and everything are being handled in the service now. Okay. If you come down, same thing over here, you will remove the try block, okay? And over here, we'll just get rid of this, okay? Something like this. This is good enough, okay? And no issues as such, this is okay, this is also okay. So controllers are now lightweight. We are just calling the service and we are returning the response, right? And you can have validations here to validate things, okay? So we are having a validation for the creating a category, okay? And you can have a validation also added for the updated category here. Okay. But for now, let me add it for the updated update. Of the category as well. Okay, so I'll just add it over here. Okay, something like this. Okay. And if you scroll up, there's nothing more to do over here. I'll head over to the service implementation, and here we have a code, a piece of code that we had written when we were managing the category IDs and categories in a list. Okay, so we were generating IDs by ourselves, but now we don't need this because we're generating IDs at the database level. So this also will get rid of, this list will get rid of.
Is never assigned.
Okay, and we get rid of this setup. Okay, I think we are good now. Okay, so yeah, we are done with the cleanup, and we'll optimize the imports as well. Okay, remove unused imports here also. We'll remove unused imports. Alright, so we are all set. I think we are good to go, and our controller is now lightweight, and major business logic now resides in the service implementation class with global exception handlers. So I hope that this was useful.
Okay. हेलो कौन देख रहा है गाइस? कहाँ से देख रहे हो?
So it's time we talk about pagination. So what is pagination? So whenever you're working with an API or you're building one, you will have to send a set of results.
ऐसा तो कल करेंगे.